Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be going through my latest prediction for the 2024 presidential election. As things stand on Monday, June 17th, I'll be giving you guys my prediction on how I think each of these swing states will vote if the election were to be held today. So we are going to start on the West Coast and then move eastward. So we already have the blue coast here of California, Oregon, and Washington. Those states are certainly voting blue. Then we get to the first swing state of Nevada. This state is going pretty well for Trump in the polls. I'm not sure I'd be willing to give it a lean characteristic, but I feel like it would probably be a tilt characteristic, so we'll probably end up giving it that rating. So I do think the state has the polls are certainly in favor of Trump in the state, and we'll have to see what happens on election day, but if the election were held today, it does look like Trump would win the state of Nevada. And then we get to the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona is going to be a little more interesting because there is an abortion referendum on the ballot. I think there might even be one in Nevada, but in Arizona, that's probably going to have an impact on the election results. Trump is currently ahead in the polls in the state of Arizona, but I do think the polls are saying by like 5 points, and I doubt that is going to happen, but I do think he will narrowly carry the state, so I'll give it the same characteristic rating. Next up, we get to the state of, we'll do Wisconsin first. So Wisconsin is going fairly well for the Republicans. Trump has been ahead by 1 or 2 points in the polls. It's within the margin of error, so we'll have to see what ends up happening. Republicans are also holding their convention here, so we'll see if that gets a post-convention bump in the state. But as of right now, the polls are pretty in favor of Trump, and that is likely going to give him the state. Next up, we get to the state of, we'll do Georgia first. So this state, I could see tilt or even lean towards the Trump column. Biden barely won it in 2020, and the polls are not looking great for him as of June 17th. So we'll have to see what happens, but that helps the Republican candidate, in this case President Trump, overcome the 270 vote threshold. So we'll still characterize these two other states. So in Michigan, I do think, and I believe it's the Fox News pollster has it as a tilt Republican or lean Republican state. There have been a couple factors, including Biden's handling of the war in the Middle East and a couple other factors that have kind of limited Democratic enthusiasm and support in the state for the Biden campaign, and that is likely to be fairly detrimental to the Biden campaign. Next up, we get to the state of Pennsylvania. So this one I actually think is currently favored to go towards the Biden campaign. I'm just going to give it a tilt characteristic, but I do think it's going to be a pretty close state. I think all these are going to be fairly close, maybe with the exception of Georgia. I think Georgia is certainly going to be going to the Republican Party, but we will have to see. But in the state of Pennsylvania, the polls are pretty close, but Biden and Trump generally are up by 1 or maybe 2 points. On the Senate level, the Democratic candidate has been up by 5 or more points, and I don't really see a world where Trump wins the state by 2 and Bob Casey Jr. wins the state by 5. There certainly is going to be some cross-ticket splitting, but it does appear that if I were to judge it today, Pennsylvania would probably narrowly fall into the Democratic column. That gives us 293 votes for the Republican candidate, in this case Donald Trump, to 245 electoral college votes for the Democratic candidate, in this case Joe Biden. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions or disagree with my forecast. I'd be happy to hear your insights, and don't forget to subscribe.